Bless you.
Okay. All right, we are recording. Awesome. Okay, guys. Thank you for being here. Looks like we've got Lindsay. Other Lindsay is going to be jumping in here shortly as well. So, first of all, I wanted to just say welcome to Carrie, and she just signed up as a coach. Gosh, was that last night or this morning? I can't even remember. That was last night. Yeah. She signed up last night. Carrie and I have been talking forever.
Yeah.
And and she finally was like, okay, I'm in. And she just jumped in 100%. And she works full time and has a little boy. So I'm super excited. I think she's going to fit in with our group super, super well. So welcome, Carrie. And then we've got Kristen, who is our other new coach. She is working right now. So she's not able to make it, but she's in the other Portland in Maine. But same situation. She's going to jump in head first and do the 21-day fix with us. So super excited to have them. I wanted to see, anyone listen to the wake up call on Monday?
I listened to it on my way home today.
Nice. What were your thoughts on it?
It was good.
Mm-hmm.
Now you're putting me on the spot. I can't remember.
Well, anybody can answer. Okay. So, Carrie, as things, as we kind of talk, you'll start to pick up on what we're talking about. So I know you are so brand new. You're like, what the heck is a wake-up call?
Yeah.
So just to remind you guys that those wake-up calls are full of awesome information. I mean, it's like a personal development hour, really. And I try to skip through all the ranked advancements unless I know it's one of you guys. But I usually just kind of put that part on mute for the first, 15 minutes. But make sure you're taking some time to listen to those wake-up calls. So what those are, Carrie, is every Monday we have a top coach in the company, and they just do like an interview with Jeff Hill, who is up at our corporate headquarters, and they just give really good information. So whether it's like their story or they have tips to share, I've never listened to one and thought that they didn't have something really informational for us. So it's just kind of fun to hear from another coach, and they're usually about 45 minutes long. They are Monday mornings, but we can listen to them all week. So make sure that, if you guys miss Monday, make sure you're getting in the rest of the week at some point. There are some weeks where I literally don't even listen to it till Thursday. And it's like, I'll go take my dog for a walk, or I'm, going on a run, or if I have to drive somewhere, I'll put that on. But make sure you're making that part of your week, because that's where you're going to be able to get looped into a lot of the stuff that's going on too. They'll make announcements in the beginning and kind of starts your week off in a nice positive manner. And then make sure that you guys are all checking the Coach Breaking News. Obviously, our team page, we're all here for questions and whatnot. But, make it a point to go to your Coach Online office first and check the Coach Breaking News. That way you know what's going on. You know what updates there are. They put things on that list constantly. So make sure you're checking that, or check the FAQs. If you have, a question about a military discount, or a Success Club 2016 trip, or Cancun, or challenge pack shipping, whatever it is, you can go to the FAQs, type in the question, it'll pop all your answers up. And I think that's a better way to go versus calling Coach Relations, because as you know, sometimes you can get on hold for a long time because there's a lot of people trying to get through. They take a lot of that information from our FAQs, and the Coach Relations will basically read from there. So it's quicker for you guys to go straight to the FAQs. And then once you've exhausted all that, then of course you can either ask me or the group or whatnot. But make sure that you're taking responsibility for keeping up in what's going on in the company, and learning about the new products and whatnot. So okay, so I wanted to talk tonight about kind of being overwhelmed, and raise your hand if anyone's ever been overwhelmed in this business. All right, look at that. I think we got a good topic now. Okay, so obviously it's easy to get overwhelmed because you don't have a boss. You don't have someone to say, okay, clock in at 8 o'clock, and from 8 to 10 you're going to do this and then this and that. Like, you don't have those tasks put out for you. What things we can do to move our business forward, but if you've got a full-time job, or if you've got kids, or you've got both, or whatever it is, it's really, really hard to get lost in that distraction. And I want to say that's probably the number one reason why a lot of coaches quit, because they have the burnout. They get super, super just burnt out and overwhelmed. I know when I first started, I had no idea what I was doing. And I still don't. But there's so much information coming to me at once. And there's so much information, between me and the team page and the Coach Online office and the Twitter account, the Instagram and the Facebook and, all this stuff, that it's easy to get burnt out. But the main thing I wanted to talk about was more so about a personal way to deal with time management a little bit more, and to kind of, figure out what to pay attention to and what to put those blinders onto, because all that stuff, all the noise on the sides is what's going to start throwing arrows at you and distracting you. And I know that I can get that way. So I have to put some parameters on it and focus on what I'm doing. So, I kind of want to start talking about goals and our power hour. Sorry, I'm having my head is spinning because there's a lot of subjects I want to talk about, but basically with your power hour and your goals. So you sit down to do your power hour, and yes, the things that I have posted in the page and things that we've talked about are all very important, but we need to focus on what's going to be getting us to our goal. So what I like to do in usually a weekly breakdown. Hi, Lillian. In a weekly breakdown is, I think, okay, so today is Tuesday, end of the month is coming up. What do I want to achieve by the end of the month? So we have to be able to set those goals. And for you, it could be maybe by the end of the month, or it could be, 3 days, however you want to set your parameters, but setting goals and then knowing the actions you need to take in order to reach those goals. And we'll talk a little bit more how to manage your time. And I've done some of this with you guys one-on-one before, but overall, when you're sitting down at your computer, your phone or whatever you're using, and you're like, okay, I'm going to get to work. This is my power hour. That time goes by fast, right? I mean, do you not get sucked into, super funny goat videos on Facebook, or your sister posted a picture of your niece, taking her first steps, whatever it is, you're going to, it's easy to get distracted. It's easy to start scrolling through news feeds. It's easy to start going over to Melanie Mitro's page or, so-and-so's page or whatever. And then all of a sudden, your hour's up. And, maybe you're making a creative banner on PicMonkey, and all of a sudden you've been sitting here for an hour and a half and nothing's gotten done. Nothing has moved you forward in your business. And that's the kind of stuff we need to focus on. Not that it's not important to do some of those, but when you have a goal, you have to be able to prioritize and say, okay, what are the things that are going to help me get to my goal? So I will write down, I'll give you a good example. So I wanted to be able to reach Success Club 20 by the end of the month. That was my minimum goal. About a week and a half ago, I think I was at 8, and I thought, okay, and this is kind of what brought me to this conversation. Okay, my goal is Success Club 20. What am I going to do? What are my action steps in order to get me there? Am I going to spend 20 minutes on PicMonkey? Am I going to spend another 10 minutes comparing myself to other coaches? No. I know that I need to invite, right? I mean, think about those action plans on what's going to help you get to that goal. So say, you're trying to build a team and you really want to, bring on some new coaches and build this dream team that you have. Well, is it going to be learning how to do Instagram? Is it going to be whatever it is? No. What you're going to do is you're going to focus your actions towards that goal. So for example, posting about what's it like to be a coach? How is it influencing your life? How is it affecting your life? What does your life look like now versus what it looked like before? How are you putting yourself out there in order to reach that goal? Are you inviting to challenge groups? Because if your goal is to get to Success Club 20, like mine was, I had to say, okay, I guess I need to start a challenge group, because I'm not going to get to Success Club 20 without a challenge group. People aren't just going to flock to me. So I had to put that effort into it. So I said, okay, my goal is, and I made half an hour, and I just sent out all these invites. Just boom, 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 sent them out. And I think I'm now at 23 or 24. So I got to my goal, but I knew that there were certain things that I had to do in order to get there. And I don't know if any of you have heard of the book, Eat That Frog, or if any of you have read it. It's by Brian Tracy. It's a fantastic book. And it basically it talks exactly about what I'm talking about. It's about doing the first thing in the morning, or when you first sit down, whatever your time is that you're working on your business, that's going to be dealing with the tasks, the big, hairy, audacious tasks that you have that are going to move you closer to your goal. So I think a lot of the people that I've spoken to, or I know, like when I'm super, super busy, whether it's with kids or traveling or whatever it is, I feel like I'm actually the most successful when I'm the most busy. And that's because I only have a limited amount of time. I mean, if I sat around all day, I would get lost on Facebook, or I would get lost on Pinterest, or whatever it is. But when I know that I have 1 hour to get things done, or even half an hour, I'm going to deal with the biggest, hairiest tasks I need to do. Because otherwise, what are you doing? We're just wasting time. So just kind of keep that in mind when you start to sit down and think about your goals and stuff. I'm looking at my notes here. Another thing too is if you're working on something and it starts to take too long. So say, you're working on a post and you just can't get it out. It's, you can't get your words correct, or the picture isn't working, and, you're trying to do all these things to make this perfect. Move on, shut it down and move on. It may be part of what you need to do, but move on until you're in a better place to deal with that, because I'll find myself getting stuck with something for an hour and I've wasted my whole entire hour on one tiny piece of information. So if it's not working, move on to the next task that's going to be able to help you to your goal. That's what I find works for me. So just basically finding, how do I make the most of my time? I know that we've got a couple people that have, actually quite a few that have full-time jobs. And, how can you make the most of your time? You have probably a little bit of time in the morning, possibly if you wake up early enough. Maybe you have a lunch break. And then maybe you have an hour to yourself at night. Maybe you have families, a husband, wife, whatever it is. We've got other priorities. So how do you make the most of your day? And that's where I want to kind of go into the whole time blocking. So we have done a team call about this. It's been a while since we've talked about this, but I think it's something it's never something that we can get tired of talking about, because it's one of those things. First of all, do any of you guys get the Darren Daily? Morgan, you do, don't you? Did you see the one about not being an asshole?
Yeah.
Asshole, ASK. So yeah. What that means, that's made me think of it, because he was talking about asking for advice and asking for information, but then not using it. And I know I find myself guilty of that as well. I'll go, oh, that's such good information, I should do that. And then I don't. That makes me an asshole. I'm asking for advice, or I'm looking for information and I don't use it, right? So it's the same thing with this whole time blocking thing, because I think we've talked about it so many times, but it's always something that we can have a refresher on, because I don't think many people do this. And it's super, super helpful, because it gives you the allowance to set your times. And, Lily and I had this really good conversation, because she has a crazy schedule. She's a teacher. She has a very challenging class. She has a husband and a son. So we work together to figure out, okay, how can we plan your day a little better? And I think that was really said a lot about where she wants to go in this business too, to know that she was trying to find a way to make it work despite everything else going on. And that's exactly what I'm talking about. So, time blocking in terms of, so for example, I'll kind of give you my schedule. And this is what I was talking about, giving you some of the tips that I do. And this is most days. There are, 1 or 2 days where I don't do this, because I kind of give myself a little bit of a break, or maybe I'm not feeling well, or my alarm doesn't go off. But, 90% of the time, this is what I do. And I get up at, 5:30 and I do my workout. I read a little bit of my personal development, maybe 10 minutes or so. Have a cup of coffee, but that usually goes until 5:30, until about 6:15, 6:30. And then my kids usually get up at 7. So I usually take from 6:30 to 7, sit down at my computer, and I think, okay, what are the things that I need to do today? And then I have to kind of reverse engineer that again. What is the goal that I'm trying to reach? Okay, trying to reach Success Club 20. I have a challenge group that starts March 2nd. And this was, a few days ago. Challenge group starts March 2nd. And I'm not there yet. What do I need to do? Do I need to go make a new banner on PicMonkey? That's probably not going to help me get to my goal. should I go, start a conversation with my high school friend? Probably not going to get me anywhere because my focus is Success Club. And so I get on and I start hammering out all these invites. And so you can push out 10 to 15 invites in 10 to 15 minutes, probably sooner than that. And then I go on and do my first post. So maybe it's a picture of me that, I took just while I was working out, or maybe it's a picture of my breakfast that I'm eating, or maybe it's a picture from the day before. What I like to do also is to kind of get ahead of myself, is that when I find a moment that I want to share, it doesn't necessarily have to be in that moment. It could be something that I take a picture of, or I have a thought in my mind and I'll write that down, or I'll put that on my phone, and then I'll share that later. So I'll take whatever I have in my mind or saved up, and I will do my first post of the day. That starts me off in a very strong position. So 6:37, I've hammered out 15 to 20 invites. I've got my first post of the day. Maybe that is about a challenge group, or maybe it's about my workout with sprinkling in about my challenge group, whatever it is that's moving me towards my goal. So I get that done. My kids wake up. I get them dressed from 7 to 8:15. We do the breakfast and all that sort of thing. And sometimes I take a shower, sometimes I don't. I'm home by 8:30 or so after I take them to school around the corner. I come home and then I spend from 9 to 12 doing all those other things. So that would be like checking in with my challengers, doing posts to my group, checking my emails, going through my emails. Instead of reading every single one, I'll look and figure out which ones are the priority, because I schedule myself from 9 to 12 to work on my business. So if you think about it, like, I know not everyone has the same schedule I do, but if you think about, could you do that on your lunch hour? Could you do that in the morning? Or is that an evening thing? However it is, it doesn't have to be my schedule. It's whatever works in your life. But I will do, I'll go through my power hour. I will do that in those 3 hours. And the key point to this time blocking here is to make sure that we're avoiding distractions. So obviously we work from wherever we want to work from. That could be our home, that could be our car, that could be our office on our lunch break. We have to shut out those distractions, because that is your time. And that's the most important part of what I'm talking about, is having that time blocking and strictly having that set up for just you and for your business. So that means maybe talking to your spouse and saying, hey, I'm going to shut the door and I'm going to be in here for 1 hour. Is that okay? However you set that up, but that's your time. There's no kids coming into the room. Turn your notifications off on your phone, on your computer, whatever it is. Because I know when I hear that ding, I want to go check that message. I want to see who's asking me a question, or I want to see, because, a lot of that I'm like, boop, I'm right back on it. Like, I'll answer right away, but I'm trying really hard not to, because I'm usually right in the middle of something. And so I'm trying to get that hammered out. And then I time block my time. So, okay, then maybe from 2 to 3 or 2 to 2:30, I'll sit down and I'll check those messages that came in or what have you, because I obviously in the Beachbody world and what we do, there's no stress in this type of job. No one's dying. No one's bleeding. It's not life or death. You can go back and check those messages an hour later. So, but just making sure that we're shutting off those distractions. I mean, this is your business. If you treat it like a business, it's going to return to you like a business. But if we treat it like a hobby where we just fit it in wherever we can, you're going to get the return of a hobby. And, if you want to be able to build that business, then it's making sure that you are setting those times, because if we aren't consistent, and this term comes up a whole bunch in our conversations, the consistency of those actions, you will see such strong progression in your business if you follow that schedule. And, you could go into Google, and I don't know how many of you have Gmail, but that's a fantastic system, because you can have a calendar there. You can time block everything. So if you work from 9 to 5, boom, that's work time. That's not Beachbody time, whatever that is. Or maybe it's 9 to 1, and then, you have a lunch hour, whatever it is, that's work time. Because I think the idea of us getting overwhelmed is trying to do it all the time. And I know I've tried to do that before, and I burn out, and that's not a happy place to be. So just setting up, okay, I do it from this time, whatever works for you, and that's all I'm going to do. And then from 3 to 8, I'm going to be with my kids and my husband, and I'm going to bake cookies and dinner and clean the house or whatever I need to do to keep my life moving on. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm not going to be working on my Beachbody business at all. So making sure you're having those time slots available for you is going to save you a lot of sanity. So I encourage you to, it may be something you can keep in your head where okay, I have from this time to this time, and you just consistently do it. But for those of you who need a little more, visual help, make that calendar and have whatever time it is, Beachbody Business, because it's a lot easier to go by the calendar in some cases. So you look at it and you know what to expect. You know that this is the time you're going to work on your business. So let's see what else I'm going to talk about. Yeah, I think that was it. I just kind of wanted to talk about that. I don't have a super fancy calendar that I use. I just use the Gmail account. And I use my calendar there, and I put everything in because it pops up on my phone. It connects to my phone. It also pops up on my email, and I can set alarms. So it's like, 12:30, I've got a coach call with Amanda or whatever it is. Like, I have that set up in advance. But that's, those are my main tips in terms of talking about time management. And I wanted to open up to you guys too and see if you guys have any questions or how we can kind of help you with your time management and what kind of concerns you have.
I was just going to say something about the book, the Eat That Frog book. I think it was really helpful because I think a lot of people try to do 7 really small tasks because you feel like you've accomplished so much, but then that big one that you keep avoiding is still there. And I'm really bad about that at work too. So I actually have implemented it in my other job as well as Beachbody job. And now at work, we all talk about what frog we're going to eat that day because I kept telling them about it. So it's hilarious. I'll be like, did you eat your frog? She's like, oh, I'm working on it. So it's made it kind of funny, but then it keeps it at the front of your mind. Like, okay, I'm just going to get the big thing I don't want to do. Or like if you hate inviting, you just do that first and then it's done and you can move on to your other stuff.
Exactly. Because if you have this big task that you need to do that that if you do this task, it will help you get to your goal. But if you keep avoiding it, you're just not getting to your goal. What's the point? And I mean, I'm guilty of it too. I've done it before too. I'm like, well, I'd rather make a pretty little picture, or I'd rather look at fun little motivational quotes on Pinterest. But when it comes down to it, that's not going to get me to Success Club 20. That's not going to build towards my goal at all. So it is so important to be like, okay, time to eat the frog, get it over with, and then move on. And you've done so much progression for your business in that sense. Anyone else?
Who wrote that book?
Brian Tracy.
He wrote the. Okay.
Yeah.
It's a really quick read too. It's a thin little book and it's easy, like it flows fast. So it's really quick read.
Okay.
Gloria? Yeah, I'm sorry. Carrie, go ahead.
I don't have anything.
Sorry, I thought you were talking. Who's that?
Oh, that was me. How do you go about, when you're doing your time blocks, when you see those messages come in on your phone or emails or something like that, and you're in the middle of something, to me, I just feel this sense of urgency to get right back to them. How do you kind of deal with that in your own mind?
Turn off notifications so you don't know they're there.
Okay.
Turn your phone over. Turn your phone on silent. Or you can do it on your computer. You can turn your notifications off on your computer so Facebook doesn't ding. Or you can also turn them off on your phone. For me, I've got 4 devices in the house. I have the iPad. I have 2 phones. I have an old phone that's still connected for some reason, and then my laptop. So it's ding, 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 all through the house.
Everything's dinging. And
it drives me crazy. And so I can hear it somewhere in the house. So I have to turn all of those off because otherwise my blood starts to kind of not boil, but I get that sense of urgency where I'm like, ooh, it could be really important. But I'm like, really? If it's really, really important, I'm sure that the police would be here. No one's bleeding. So there's nothing that's that important that you can't get back to in 20 minutes. But just avoid the temptation. Turn your notifications off and you won't have a clue they're there.
Yeah. Okay. Because I'm even struggling getting my workouts done without everything in my house dinging at me. And I'm like, don't need to be checking my phone. I need to be doing my workout,
Right. And this is a mental discipline. Like you have to be able to know that this is my time. This is the time that I'm doing. I'm going to avoid those distractions. I'm going to turn those notifications off so I can devote my time to what I'm doing, whether that's business or whether that's being with your family or whether that's your workout.
Okay. Awesome.
So Gloria, I was going to ask you and I are the one, you're one of the people that I went through and we kind of did your daily plan. How is that working for you? And how does this call resonate with you? Have you been sticking to that?
I've had to change it up some. We, of course, finished our 6 a.m. gathering. And so I've changed it up some where I've been able to add some more things in the morning. But pretty much I've stuck to the audiobooks on the drive, on the commute there and the commute back. That saves a lot of time. I do miss the reading. I love to read and I love personal development. So I kind of miss that when I don't get to do as much of it. But the time blocks have really worked for me. And then just really counting for every minute, because you don't realize how much time your distractions take away from you. Because even if you go, and just check Facebook real quick, it's 10 minutes you've lost. Which 10 minutes doesn't sound like a lot, but then if it's another 10 minutes 10 times more, 10 more times, then you've lost that much more time. So the distractions are really what eat up my time if I'm not careful.
That's right, for sure. A good point. We talked about the personal development. So you don't always just have to sit down and read your personal development. Like, don't feel like you have to sit there with a book in your hands for half an hour and read your book. Like, I suggested to Gloria because she was having a half-hour commute twice a day. And I asked her, well, what are you doing? She's like, I don't know, listening to the radio. And I was like, what? Like, get books on tape. So she has an hour of personal development she can do in the car rather than an hour at home. I mean, that's a big difference. Like, you could get 2 workouts in. You could run a business in an hour. You could build a business in an hour. That was a huge thing to see her make that shift. So like I said, I'll do it when I walk my dog, or I'll do it if I'm driving, or, if I'm cleaning the house. Like, if you don't have, if you're by yourself and you don't have the kids screaming or whatever, I'll put it on when I'm cleaning the kitchen or something, or sweeping the floors, because I can't go anywhere. I'm a captive audience right there. So I'll listen to it, in a more productive way. So.
Right. And Jim Maxwell has so many audiobooks on YouTube even that I've found. And Jim Rohn has a ton of them. There's so many that I hadn't really, looked at or knew that they were out there. So there is a lot.
Yeah, that's a good point. I will, I have the books that I like to read, and when I can, I will. But if I don't have the time to sit down, I will Google one of my favorite authors, and usually something will pop up. And that's, John Maxwell, like you said, Jim Rohn, Darren Hardy. You can listen to speeches. There's so many resources out there. Absolutely. So let's hear, like, Morgan, let's hear from you and how your schedule goes. I know you're home with your daughter, but I know you work. Don't you work another job as well?
I'm a nanny 3 times of a day, about 5 hours.
Okay. So how do you set up your day? And is there something that you can be, and this is not to pick on anyone, I'm just kind of getting different situations here. How can you improve upon that, you think?
Well, how I plan out my day is I do my personal growth in the morning. I sit down and read before my daughter wakes up. And then I pay attention to her. After that, I've realized I've tried to work out in the morning, but I've realized it's a lot easier just to do it when she's napping. So I do my workouts now in the afternoon. And if I've worked that day, when I come home, I will spend an hour, my power hour, and then work out, or I will work out, and when my husband comes home, I will spend an hour doing all my stuff that I want to get done.
Okay. So, when it comes to our workouts, I definitely don't count those into my power hour. I think that's something that we should just be doing regardless. Whether you're a coach or not, I think it's something we should make a priority. So I wouldn't put that into your power hour, because that's not, yes, you need to be proof of the product. And we talked about
It's not
that.
my power hour.
No, I'm not saying you do. It just kind of brought to my mind that I've had that question before about, well, how do I do my workout and build my business all in 1 hour? And the idea is that, we should be caring for ourselves regardless. That should be a priority. So don't make that part of your power hour. That's just part of life. That's just part of staying alive and healthy. So Stephanie, how about you? I know you work full time.
It's really hard because I work an early shift and I just can't do morning workouts. It just doesn't work for me. So when I get up, the first thing I do is just get dressed and go right to work, and I'm there all day. And they've gotten really, really strict about you cannot have your phone out during work anymore. So literally cannot check my phone throughout the day unless I'm on a lunch break. And if I get busy eating lunch, then I don't have time to check notifications. So what I did was I was already in the habit of just doing my workout immediately after work while I had some time. And then I would have like this last chunk of the day just open to get whatever done. And that's where I would like cook dinner and try to work on the business. And I'm still kind of struggling with it because I've tried doing a power hour and like having it broken apart exactly what I was going to do. And I found I'm not ever able to get it done in 1 hour. Like I can't do it. And it turned out to where like after my workout, I would start doing this power hour and I would literally be doing it until about 10:30 every single night, trying to get at least a couple hours in to talk to people. And it's still not enough is what I'm feeling like. So with a full-time business, like you're able to do, a 4-hour part job. I can't get 4 hours in a day. So it's really hard for me to build it up in a short amount of time that I have. But I just kind of had to take a step back because I was starting to and kind of just relax a little bit to try to have it happen more naturally as opposed to trying to force it because it just wasn't working.
Okay. Yeah. And everyone's situation is different, obviously. Like we all have different situations and, it's not fair to ourselves to be able to, we can't compare ourselves. And so I get that it's harder for some people. And I was running a real estate company and my kids weren't even in kindergarten when I started this. So I was pulling my hair out, but I knew it was something that I didn't want to give up on. So not only was I running around all day showing homes, I had 2 kids that were in like preschool for a couple of hours and that was it. And so I had a lot on my shoulders and it's hard. Distractions are there. Life happens. Like this is life, and it's just about finding the situation and the schedule that works best for you. So I guess, and maybe in that situation, Stephanie, and maybe this is something you and I can talk about too, one-on-one. I'm happy to do that. But, trying to figure out what are the most effective things that you can do, instead of having to try to do everything because of your time commitment. What are the things that are going to, maybe the top 2 things that are going to move you towards the goal that you have set for yourself? Whatever that may be. So maybe think about that and, whatever your goal may be by the end of the month or, in the next 2 weeks, figure out what actions you can take that will be the most productive instead of trying to, spreading yourself so thin and trying to do everything. Because I know that's got to be really hard. What do you think? Anyone else? Any questions or thoughts?
I do think when you have a full-time job also, and I've got 2 kids and I find myself doing the same thing. I pretty much do my stuff at night. But I just need to be more conscious of what time I start and how long I plan to do that. Or, tell my husband, okay, I'll wait till after the kids go to bed. And, do we have stuff we need to talk about? And if not, I'll spend all that time before bed doing what I need to do. But sometimes it'll be 10:30 and we were supposed to talk about bills or something. And, I never stopped working and he didn't bother me. So just making sure that we kind of communicate better about what else needs to be done besides that. And then if there's nothing going on, I pretty much work until I'm tired and then I go to bed. I'm kind of the same thing with Stephanie, except for I do get up and work out in the morning. But I'm really not supposed to be, I can check my phone at work, but I can't do any work during the day too. So.
Yeah, no. And that's okay. Like you shouldn't have to do it all day. There's no reason why you need to interrupt your family time or your work time to build this business, because that's why time blocking is so helpful. So you know from 8 to 5 that you're working and that's all you're doing. And then maybe from, but like I said, maybe you sacrifice a little bit more time in the morning. Maybe you get up a little bit earlier and you do a half hour of work just after your workout or before, however that works. And then, so you have part of that done. So when you come home, you've got that family time and you're not doing any Beachbody work. You're able to just commit to your family. And if it helps, literally write on a calendar, family time from 5 to 8, and then maybe from 8 to 9, it's your Beachbody business because you got to get a little bit done in the morning. I get up at 5:30. Like this is my only job, but I still want to get up at 5:30 because I know there's things that I want to do. Now, do I like it? Not all the time, but I do it just because I know that even though this is my only job, there's a million other things that need my attention, whether that's kids events or volunteering or cleaning the house or whatever, but it's just about maybe thinking about what small sacrifices can I make in order to find that time. And maybe it's a short-term sacrifice, because if you end up growing your business to a point where you don't have to work, or maybe you go part-time or whatever, you're making that small sacrifice until you get to that next level, whatever that may be. So just what's worked for me a little bit, because I did have to do that with real estate. It was hard, but I was cranky and I was tired.
I think what kind of helped me a little bit was to look at my time as money. And money, you manage it, you budget it, and you know where it's going. And so when I started to look at my time and kind of budget my time out, it was going to places that I didn't, you recognize when you're budgeting your money that you've spent $25 a week on Starbucks, and right. You didn't, you weren't really noticing that. So I see that when I budget my time the same way, I see that it goes, sometimes there's big chunks that I'm like, I did not intend to spend an hour and a half watching TV or whatever. So that kind of helped me to manage my time a little bit better and just watch what I'm doing. And I wrote it down for about a week, wrote down like every minute. It was kind of a pain to write down every minute what I was doing, but then I was able to go back and look at it and I said, okay, I need to, watch this or cut this out or whatever. So that kind of helped me look at it that way.
That's a great idea. Yeah, that sounds like a big pain in the butt, but you were really aware of what you were doing. Yeah. Because, how often will we sit down and watch a TV show and that turns into 2 and then there's 2 hours?
Right.
Not to say you can never watch TV again.
Right.
But it's the idea of, you spent 2 hours watching TV. And I feel that like when I find myself sitting for the TV for more than 1 hour, I feel like, oh, okay, I got to get up. This isn't right. I gotta do something, I gotta be productive here until I'm like on the pillow. But yeah, that's a good idea. Anyone else? Any thoughts? All right. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I had one other question I was going to ask you. I was talking to my other team the other day, but I have a niece that started, well, she's been in Beachbody for a while. She's in the Navy, I believe, but she didn't do it for a long time. And so she just started up again. So I've kind of been helping her a little bit, but she's not, she's under someone else and she's kind of picked, but she started talking about wanting to move over to me. And I was like, oh, I didn't want to step on toes. Yeah. I didn't want to say, come on over. I didn't want to do that. So I kind of just encouraged her to stay where she's at until, she figures out if she's going to like that or be able to do, work with them or whatever. So I didn't know if she did decide to come over, if that was an okay thing to do, or if that was, kind of something that's not ever okay to do.
Lindsay and I were just talking about this, and, it's a situation where if the coach is providing what that person needs and then they decide to go elsewhere, that's kind of a slap in the face to the coach. But I've also had people switch over to me because the coach that they have either disappeared or just wasn't doing anything. And that obviously is a different story. But, if she's working with her coach one-on-one and and they're actually working together, then to me that's kind of an unethical thing to kind of steal her from her coach. But if she's not getting the support, and if her coach is not doing her job, then that's when I say that's okay. Because if she needs somebody to help her and no one is doing it, why not? Why can't that be you? That's my thoughts on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So, all right, ladies, if there's not any last thoughts or questions, I'll go ahead and let you go. No?
No.
Okay. Awesome. All right.
Night, ladies.
Yeah. Good night, everyone. Thank you. I'll see you soon.
Bye.
Bye.